Is that working? It is working. Right. I've just thought of a really cool way to explain something. Um, and it's kind of scientific, but I'm going to sort of turn it into like an analogy. So look at the things that happen on your skin, right? And how the brain knows about it, right? Pain doesn't happen until it gets to the brain, right? But none of them do. So I want you to imagine it like there's a person sitting in a room and say it's on a ship or something, right? And they're looking at a console and there's lights on it, right? Red light, I'm hurting. So that cell there, I've seen it on the map, is reporting to me that it's hurting. I know this because there's a red light flashing, right? And then there's loads of other red lights from all the other cells, and all the bits of the brain are going, yes, I can confirm that. There are red lights, we've got signals of incoming pain, right? That person then responds by sending messages out to other areas of the brain, right? And this is where I forget all which one does what, but let's just call them people, right? And one of those people goes, in response to whatever, a different coloured light means a different thing. So a blue one is I'm cold, or whatever. A pink one is I'm being tickled, because light touch. There are sensors for light touch, heavy touch, pain, nociceptors they're called. Thermoreceptors are heat, right? So they send these signals. So then the sensations of coldness or whatever, you get hormonal and neurological responses to that input in the brain. So when it's I'm cold, there's parts of your brain that go, right, I'm on it with the fucking shivering, right? And I guess that's neurological. It's like, yeah, I'm going to spasm the muscles. I'll take care of that. Then whatever it is with the skin, whether it's a hormone that does that, this is, that's where it's more complicated. But something else is responsible for making the skin go goosebumpy, right? The biological responses to what's happening. But they happen as a result of the person in the room that has got the readout where the lights come on. Now, I don't know about you, but if I worked in one of the rooms that sent those lights, I'd fuck about with it. People are like, mate, are you just pressing the fucking button? Yeah. Because your body can kind of do that. It can send false ones. That's how you get things like chronic pain syndrome. When there's loads and loads and loads of red lights all the time, they become sort of I won't go into the biology of how it happens because it's really complicated, but it's, you can get light touch receptors that turn into pain receptors. Everything turns into a pain receptor. That can happen. So that's how people can be hypersensitive to pain. So that is like a biological reason for why someone's a fucking wimp. Really, if you've got more pain receptors, you feel more pain. That's why pain is subjective. It's not always about choice. It's not always about interpretation. There's biological reasons for it too. But it's a really good way of explaining how, when those lights go off, the brain responds in a biochemical way, as a biodynamic organism. It responds because it has to, because it's a brain. Consciousness and your brain are two very different things. So use that analogy of like the control room of the ship, and it's getting messages from all the different like departments or whatever. But now imagine that they're fear. And now imagine that they're a sense of being ridiculed, or now imagine that they're a sense of anything. So you're effectively sort of, yes, you are experiencing something that to everyone else isn't happening. But to be told it's not happening is fucking hugely unsettling, because you are getting the biological response to that input, to that neurological input that comes into the brain. So when it malfunctions, you get the subsequent response anyway, even though there isn't the initial threat, there isn't the initial the initial saber-toothed tiger, because that's why all that stuff's there, is when we used to have to like battle or be wary of the fact that there might be saber-toothed tigers out there and they might want to eat you. And so that's like a rational fear. That's a very real fear, and you better fucking run. But it's another thing about the amygdala in borderline personality disorder is, as well as the amygdala being small, it receives messages from, I think it's the hippocampus, might be the hypothalamus, doesn't really matter. It receives messages from another area of the brain that it, for whatever reason, because it's got small, it now interprets as a threat. So you get the biological response in the body of a threat. Now just take that and translate that into terms of a psychological thing. And that is what we would call paranoia. Or thinking everything's about your fucking self. Or all of that shit. I won't say too many of those because I get angry. But it's what I used in a way to forgive myself. I get, people often say you're using it as an excuse. Is it an excuse or is it a reason? It's what I use to forgive myself. Because when you are a paranoid cunt, sorry, I shouldn't swear so much. When you are paranoid, paranoia is treated like a personality trait and a choice, and it's very often not. It's really insulted, and you're paranoid, blah, 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 blah. It's actually a really horrific thing to go through. Because I think it's just seen as this kind of, because you must be paranoid, you must be self-centered if you're paranoid, and must be really needy or something, and you're really threatened at the prospect that someone could leave you and all that sort of shit, and you're called paranoid. But it's a fucking symptom. It's a symptom. It's a thing that's happening. And it's a thing that your conscious mind knows is happening. That's why it's really difficult when people say, oh, come on, you're just being paranoid. That's the first thing that people who are paranoid say to themselves is, oh, come on, you're just being paranoid. It's like people who worry too much and go, God, if only I couldn't, if only I didn't worry so much. And then people tell them that, you know what your problem is? You worry too much. Do I? Do I really? But that's basically the reason for paranoia. And it's like, I'm not just talking about like, it's hard to talk about paranoia because if you talk about paranoia, you know that a lot of people are instantly go, ooh, we're going to stay away from him. Because paranoid people are often seen as like creeps and fucking just slightly a bit dangerous and all that sort of shit. And it's like, no. I don't think I am, because I'm fucking aware of it and I'm being vocal about it and I'm doing something about it. And it was, it was me that went to and approached and asked for this, and then it was me that was fucking given it because I asked for it because I knew I needed it. Because you wouldn't know I was paranoid a lot of the time. I'm not like, well, I have been more recently over the last year or so, very fucking paranoid. But I know how to deal with it. I can deal with it, but it just makes me unsettled in the meantime. And it's like, it's something that happens for an hour or two or a while. I always think my way around it, and I never like get long-term affected by it. But the reason I keep it to myself is because I know how unfavourably it is viewed by so many people. And I think that's one of those things, isn't it, that really makes people just shut the fuck up. But when you shut the fuck up about things, they turn to vileness and bile. How many minutes am I? 9:18. When they do, they turn to disgusting. And they make you act out more, and they make you feel sick, and they make you feel hateful about yourself. And like very often, all that's happening is there's a misfunction in your brain chemistry, and you're seeing things as threats that aren't threats. And this is happening at like every level. So there's just, in so many conversations, it's like, I've just said the wrong thing. It's a feeling, it's not a thought. I keep saying that, but that's what I mean, is the sensation I've just been a dick. I've just said the wrong. No, you haven't. And it's getting worse. It's really, that's why conversations are hard. But it's because I'm getting miscalculations happening here. It's not because of my fucking opinions. And it's not because I don't love myself. And it's not because I don't know there's loads and loads of fucking lovely things about me. It's none of those things. And so then when people focus on all those lovely things about me, I'm just thinking, that's just like, yeah, it's so lovely. But it's like, that's just millions of miles away from what I'm talking about. This shit's fucking happening and I'm not choosing it. I'm not choosing it to happen. There are things going wrong up here which are making it seem like things are happening which aren't. Right, I did say I wasn't going to dramatise it, and I'm not. It's quite clear I'm getting upset. So I better end this one.